I started writing it a few years ago, I think during COVID, and I just kind of had this idea of these two guys. One guy that's been blessed by the last 20 years, put his money in crypto and tech and all this stuff and has a giant mansion in LA, and then the other guy who's been screwed by the last 20 years and is just burdened with debt. His rent went up, he lost his apartment, he lost his job, and just the fact that LA is a city where those two guys could be right next to each other in the same coffee shop, and how do you tell a story about that and their worlds colliding? And then at some point I got to about 40 pages and I was kind of hitting a wall, and then I had this idea of, oh, there's an angel, and this whole premise of the angel kind of trying to do the thing from It's a Wonderful Life and getting it wrong, and the guy being like, no, I'm good. And I had Seth in one of the parts, and then when Keanu came as the angel, it was like, oh man, this is gonna work, or I think it's gonna work. We'll see in October.
I love the fact that you've worked with so many Canadians here. Keanu Reeves, Seth, and Sandra Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, just a powerhouse of Canadians. Were they just the right people, or what made you pick those three?
Well, Seth I've known for a long time, and I sent him the script, and he was a person that signed up first, and then Keanu's name came up to play the angel, and I was completely blown away because I was like, what? Not you mean like Keanu Thompson, this guy I've never heard of? Like who? Keanu Reeves, really? And he signed up to play the angel, and then Sandra Oh, I don't know why she was in my head to play that role. And I didn't know she was Canadian until she showed up, and she said what you said. Oh, you got a lot of Canadians here. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. But they were all fully living up to the Canadian stereotype and being wonderful, kind people that were easy to work with. And I got to keep these Canadians around.
Keke Palmer is such a great choice here for your love interest / so much more. There's so much more going on with her and her character.
Yeah.
How did she work into the story, and what was she like to work with?
Well, I was trying to think of what these characters, their ideas about all this stuff could be. And my character, he's struggling. He's like, I give up. This sucks, And Elena, Keke's character, is the opposite in terms of she's like, I'm going to fight. I'm going to change the system. I'm going to unionize my store. And I've known Keke. We were working on something else together, and I thought, oh, she has that passion, and she knows how to. I knew she would be great at kind of being this character and kind of having that those ideals and that strength and that fight, And there was a real guy who I interviewed that he tried to unionize the store he worked at, and when I talked to him, he was so inspiring, and a lot of him is in the character, Keke and I were just such good friends, and we love working with each other, and we're such good friends. I was just so excited to have this part that she could do, and I was so happy it worked out.
How did you feel about the fact that you've really gone all in, heart and soul, in so many ways here with this story about the gig economy and how rich people are kind of trashing the world for other people in some ways, at least economy-wise. So, how did you feel about going all in on that? Because it's a really heartfelt story about that whole thing.
I think it's what's happening all around us, and even for me, who wrote the movie, thinking about it, the more time I spent learning about it and interviewing people, it becomes human in a different way. And I think most of the people that have means, they understand there's people getting fucked over, but you don't think about it quite in the same way. I know it's probably tough to be a DoorDash driver, but it was different when I actually did it when I was working on the movie. I actually did it for a couple hours, and I was like, oh man, I never thought about it like this. There's just something different. And, I talked to Seth, and we were talking about it, and he was like, oh, now when I use those things, I tip those guys so hard. And I was like, because of the movie? He's like, yeah, because of the movie. And, I'm sure before he wasn't giving them nothing, but it definitely changed. I don't know. I'm hoping that people see it, and it makes them. There's all these people that do all this stuff for us, It's not just gig economy, it's everything. There's so many people that do all this stuff for us, and we don't think about the fact that these professions are probably not giving them enough to get by. They probably have to do 2 or 3 things like this, and it's probably pretty tough. And, once you start really thinking about these people as people that have to, get by with these jobs, it's tough. And things have gotten worse and worse and worse. So, yeah. Anyway, the movie's hilarious.
No, but that's what's so cool is that it really is a funny movie, especially that first half really just soars on the comedy. But then you also have this heart and soul going on that I'm really impressed by. I thought that's very cool.
Well, that was the challenge. At first, when I started writing it, I was writing kind of a sadder version. That was like a drama. And I was like, I don't want to do this, man. I've been doing some dramas, and I want to do something funny. I want to be on set laughing and having a good time. And I was faced with the problem of, well, how do you make a movie about this and make it funny? But that's a fun challenge, right? And when, you start, it's very sad that, machines and AI are taking jobs, right? That is sad. That's not a nice thing. But you're in LA and you see this little delivery robot driving by giving food, and you're like, oh, well, it's funny if that thing takes Seth's job and is always getting in his way when he's trying to do this. It's funny if Seth is sitting there waiting in line to pick up food and the robot breezes past him and gets the food first. and he's like, that's how the machines win, and that's funny. So you just figure it out. And, I hope no one thinks I'm making light of any of this stuff. And I don't think that's true. And people that have seen the film and have dealt with those issues, they don't feel that way at all. They feel like, I haven't talked to everybody, but when we started doing screenings, that was obviously a concern, and people were like, oh man, I'm so glad this is here, and that you're talking about these things, and I've been there, and I understand this, and it made me feel great about the movie.
Well, last thing I'll ask you quickly is just, what do you hope people take away once they've seen this film? What's the bottom line for you that you feel passionate about? You've spoken a lot right now, but I'm curious if there's more.
Yeah, well, look, I'm obviously passionate about the film, but I'm like Tom Cruise. I want people to be in a cinema, in a theater, and I want them to remember that it's fun to be in a theater watching a comedy and to laugh with your friends and to be focused on one screen and not, what's happening? I really want people to see this in the theater, and I hope they do, because I want to make more movies like this. Other people want to make movies like this, original films that, are in theaters. And it's tough right now to make a movie like that. And if good fortune works, I hope it's good for me and I get to make other movies. But I want to see more original films that have a little bit of budget and get to do fun things, because it's so hard. So I hope it brings people to the cinema and that they have a great time and they support their local movie theater and they do it and have a great laugh at the same time.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And thank you so much for the time. Congratulations. It's a really special film. Very cool.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.